What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video today on Lex Alexis. Now before I actually carry on recording and actually doing all of his videos, I'll need to issue an apology for that last atrocious video that I made. I'm really sorry that I thought that was an acceptable quality for this channel. Just quick apology and disclosure out the way really. It's one of those typical moments where I've just completely ran out of time and had too many things going on. Audio I know was really bad. I really did try to clean it, but it was still poor, and that was down to my Streamlabs completely crashing and deleting all of my filters I had on my mic. I've now reassigned those filters, and I've actually manually taken note what filters I had as well, because part of the issue is I don't even know what bloody filters I used. So it should sound better today, but do let me know if it doesn't still in the comments, and I'll make sure I can still tweak it. But if all goes to plan, today we're predicting match day 30 for the championship. Obviously in the left hand side of the screen as well, we've got some Premier League games to predict. There's a lot of Premier League going around at the moment, especially. You can always predict the Premier League games in the comments down below just for a little bit of fun. They're not going to go towards the Leicester Football Prediction League, but what will go towards the Prediction League is your championship predictions. Now I've not posted an update yet and probably won't for quite a while, because I mentioned last video that I've got a major exam coming up, and I think I'm going to dedicate most, if not all of my time getting that sorted, or at least trying to get that sorted. But when that's all over, I should be able to give you an update by the, well, not at the end of the season, but just before the end of the season, I think. So we will be able to get an update for you guys. I'm not forgetting about you, and you'll still see me post, of course. It's just going to be under very strict timings and conditions. So all the admin out the way, I think we're ready to start predicting. If you guys enjoyed the video, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Let's go for 50 likes this time, hopefully with audio sounding a lot better this time around. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so as well. It really does help the growth of this channel when you do that. And please also share the channel too. All three of these things are free to do, and they really help. Okay, let's not keep you waiting. Let's start predicting. So let's go with Bristol City versus Leeds. This is a game that's going to be taking place tomorrow. Both of these sides had earned themselves a replay within the FA Cup. Bristol City, of course, they drew against Premier League Nottingham Forest. They will be going away from home at the City Ground in their replay. Leeds United were at home to Plymouth, only sustaining a 1-1 draw. They're going to have to try and get a result at home park. Now, out of these two sides, Bristol City actually played again in midweek. They actually had a game against Coventry, and I've got to say they actually looked quite decent. They did actually do all right. They led for quite a fair bit of that game, and maybe themselves would be counting themselves a little bit unlucky that they didn't get more from that game. Going into this game against Leeds, I think it's very easy to put Leeds as the favourite, and there's a lot of motivation for Leeds. They can really put the pressure on Ipswich and Southampton if they pick up a win here, with the fact that they're playing first. They can go up to second, and probably will be second momentarily based on Southampton and Ipswich also playing. You know, I do think Leeds need this win. They really need to try and set the pressure and the tone that they are in this top two race as well. And I think with the squad, they definitely can. Now, a lot of the time I seem to underestimate Bristol City, but whenever I back them, they just turn out their worst performance. So it's a lose-lose each time I predict a Bristol City game, because it's whatever outcome I will go against Bristol City. So as a prediction, it's tough to predict, you know. I might edge Leeds at the moment based on how well their form is going. 4 wins in 5. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory, therefore, to Leeds United. But I won't be surprised to see if Bristol City gets something. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Blackburn versus QPR. So we're now entering Saturday's games, and we've got quite a few 3 o'clock kickoffs this time around. Both Blackburn and QPR not in good form in the championship. Between them, they've only picked up 3 wins in their last 10 games. So honestly, both of them really need to try and get a result. Now, Blackburn were involved in FA Cup action. They played on the Monday against Wrexham. So maybe for them, they'll be hoping that that 4-1 victory over Wrexham will give them just a little bit of confidence going into this game. Because when you look at their form book, it is not nice whatsoever. But QPR themselves are struggling just that tiny bit as well. They had a massive opportunity in the weekend, actually, against Huddersfield to try and get themselves a really, really good position to get themselves outside of the bottom 3. But they did miss that chance, and actually they had to rely on a very late equaliser to even get a draw. Had that been a defeat for QPR, it would have been a disaster. So you think that late equaliser might just keep them in contention of still having a good amount of momentum to get themselves out of the bottom 3. As a prediction, both these sides probably lacking a bit of confidence, but one thing that I will say against with Blackburn, whilst they've not been picking up wins, they have had no issue finding the ball in the back of the net. I think that is what is really going to give me the confidence to back them here. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Blackburn. I think we'll see plenty of goals fly in this game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Huddersfield versus Sheffield Wednesday. So Huddersfield go from 1 relegation 6-pointer, failing to win 3 points. They've got a second chance now against Sheffield Wednesday. Now, of course, Huddersfield made the pretty bold decision of getting rid of Darren Moore going into this game, of course. So it's really, really difficult to see what Huddersfield will turn up like. They could have a bit of a new lease of life about them now that Darren Moore has been dismissed. Sheffield Wednesday, I think a bit of a disadvantage for them as well is that they've also played in a midweek game against Watford yesterday. That was sustained in a 0-0 draw between them there. And Sheffield Wednesday were involved in FA Cup action as well, getting a draw against Coventry. Right now, Sheffield Wednesday would really want to have as little distractions from the league as possible, and just having a replay is not really going to help their situation. As a prediction, I don't see many goals in this game, I can't lie, but I just have a feeling that maybe Huddersfield, now that they've parted ways with Darren Moore, they may get a winning start under a new tenure. And therefore, I'm going to go for a very narrow 1-0 win. It has a feeling that it could just be a 1-goal swing between the two. And I'm going to back Huddersfield with them being at home and having a new lease of life. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Hull versus Millwall. Now, Hull will be one of the few lucky teams going into this game, having no FA Cup and no midweek action actually. So they've had a long break going into this game. As listen, they've been making some pretty big transfers. Ryan Giles being one that's really caught my eye actually. Big fan of that transfer there. Millwall, they did play one game in between Hull City's break, which was a midweek game against Preston North End. They started well, they took the lead against Preston, but then ultimately Brad Potts equalised off as Ian Fleming took the lead in the opening 5 minutes, I think it was as well. And ultimately, when it was a draw, you know, going into the half-time and into the second half, it kind of fizzled out a little bit, didn't really go anywhere. So I don't really think that Millwall really could take a lot out of that game. They won't feel too begrudged in many ways. I think this game here is going to be a very tough one to predict though. But Hull, I think, now with those signings and with a couple of players coming back from injury and having that long break, I think this is a really good time for Hull to try and get some consistency, because recently they've not been too consistent with their form. But if they can string a good couple of wins together, considering how close they are to the tops, it's only separated by 2 points between them and Coventry, they can definitely take advantage. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Hull. I think Hull will not be as fatigued as Millwall are. I think with players returning from injury as well, I think the team is just going to feel stronger than ever. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Norwich versus Coventry. Both Coventry and Norwich were involved in midweek action and FA Cup action as well. So both have had a pretty busy fixture schedule. You know, Norwich, of course, played against Liverpool in Anfield there. Probably put up a little bit more than the fight for what Chelsea did, to be honest, against Liverpool quite recently. But it was a nice day out for them there. Scored some cracking goals, you know, witnessed in that game as well. Coventry, I mentioned already, they drew against Sheffield Wednesday. So a bit of an annoying replay now between those two in the midst of a busy fixture schedule. You know, it's not really going to be helpful, especially if you've got to be in a position where you can't really afford to take your eye off the ball, no pun intended. And that is within the top 6 race. Coventry are barely up there because they're only 1 point clear of 7th place Sunderland at this moment of time. And that draw against Bristol City was a bit of a missed opportunity. They could have got a bit of space there. And I don't think they were particularly at their best. They had to rely on a late equaliser to even get a result from that game in the end. Sakamoto and Ellis Sims the 2 goal scorers for Coventry there. Now against Norwich, they did have a narrow defeat in midweek against Leeds United, but I do think Norwich should have at least scored one of the goals. They had a really good couple big chances, Norwich. They just were not clinical. But if they're clinical here, I think it's going to be very, very tight, actually. As a prediction, oh, I did predict a draw. But you know what? I have a very funny feeling that it might be Norwich that might just overrun Coventry's midfield a little bit. I think there's a couple of injuries in that area. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Norwich, actually. I think they might squeak a result. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Preston versus Ipswich. Okay, so Ipswich have got to try and bounce back from the humiliation that was with that FA Cup game against non-league Maidstone United. To give you context, my local team, Chelmsford City FC, play in the same league as Maidstone United. Chelmsford City actually are 1 place higher than Maidstone in that league. So it is almost the equivalent of Ipswich losing to my local team. And it does speak volumes. Ipswich having 38 shots, I think 13 on target in the end. And Maidstone only having 2 goals. It was a very FIFA-like result in the end. But credit where credit's due. They were so ruthless on the counter-attack when they did have that one moment of quality, and Ipswich defensively in those 2 goals was shambolic. But right now, I think now that that's one competition that they don't need to think about, it might benefit them with their league form. Preston did play 1 game this week. I mentioned already they played against Millwall, so both of these sides going into the game having played 1 game in the past week or so, so no team's going to feel more fatigued than the other, I don't think. A prediction here, I can really see Preston making things difficult. What I saw for reverse fixture game, because I was at Plymouth Road, Ipswich were very, very good, I felt, first half, but second half, my goodness me, Preston actually made things really, really difficult, actually, in that occasion. And as a prediction here, I'm going to predict a draw. I've not been too keen on Ipswich's away form as of late, and I think Preston might sneak something. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in that game, but could easily be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Rotherham versus Southampton. Now, Rotherham, their away form's been shambolic, really. You know, there's no doubt about it. But one of the very few points they picked up away from home was against this Southampton side. And I remember it vividly being actually one of the bigger shock results of that weekend when I was walking out from Portman Road after Ipswich battered Preston. So it was a bit of a shocking result, and it was one of those ones that Rotherham really made it difficult for Southampton, and Southampton was still kind of a bit inconsistent with their form. I think now that the tide has turned in Southampton's favour and their long unbeaten run just seems to not look like it will end anytime soon, they are for me the overwhelming favourites to finish 2nd place right now in the league. And unless Rotherham pull off a miracle, which they have pulled some pretty spectacular results at home this season, but I think here will be one step too far as a prediction. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Southampton. I just think their squad depth and quality is too strong, and I think they'll be all right, even despite losing Alcaraz just recently to Juventus. But I think they'll be okay with this game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Stoke versus Leicester City. Stoke had a pretty poor defeat in midweek, I can't lie, against Sunderland, losing by 3 goals to 1. I do think right now we're slowly starting to see the problems that many Stoke managers have been having, and now Schumacher's now facing them, with Stoke just creating a lot, not being clinical, and just not being completely organised when they need to be. Leicester also played in midweek as well. They also played in the FA Cup as well. They managed to get past Birmingham in the FA Cup, and they managed to follow that up with a 3-1 comfortable victory against Swansea in midweek as well. It does seem that nothing's stopping Leicester, and I do think unless Stoke score first, I think it'll make it very interesting. But if Leicester score first, I think we all know what the outcome will be. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory to Leicester. I do think the latter will happen, and I think Leicester will win quite comfortably. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Swansea versus Plymouth. So likewise for what I previously talked about with Blackburn and QPR, both Swansea and Plymouth, again, I've not really been too keen with their form, to be honest. Plymouth, it's only 1 win in their last 5 games. And I don't really suspect there'll be another one based on the fact they've not won away from home this season. So it's a bit of a tall order for them. Swansea, it's back-to-back defeats for them, and they've had pretty diabolical results quite recently. They've conceded 8 goals in their last 2 games, of course, losing 5-0 to Bournemouth in the FA Cup and conceding 3 to Leicester, as I just previously mentioned. So they need to respond, and right now, you know, Williams, would he be under pressure already? I don't think so, but right now against a Plymouth side where I do think they are quite vulnerable away from home, I think Swansea really need to try and take advantage of that here. As a prediction, I think based on the squads and where they're at the moment, and considering that both of them played quite a hefty amount of games, Plymouth didn't need to play a midweek game, but they did play an FA Cup game, getting that replay against Leeds. Oh, it's tough, but I'm going to back Swansea, actually. I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Swansea. I think with them being at home, they might edge it here, but there's no doubt Plymouth can definitely get something. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Watford versus Cardiff. So Watford, having played 2 games in a week against a Cardiff side who have not played in that entire week. They, just like Hull actually, were one of the few other teams who didn't play in the FA Cup, and they didn't play in midweek either, which is a great advantage for them, because Watford, you know, before even their last championship game, would have played 2 intense games, earning a replay in the FA Cup against Southampton, and then following that up with a 0-0 draw against Sheffield Wednesday yesterday as well. It's going to take quite a lot out of them, and I think Cardiff could match them in that regard. That I think they'll feel a lot more fresher and a lot more at it than Watford, but I do think Watford's squad is a lot stronger. I think the depth is a lot stronger too, so I think it's a great equaliser here. And you're probably thinking about what my prediction would be. With my references to equaliser, I do think it's going to be a draw between these 2 sides. I don't really see a lot separating them, and as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I can naturally see both these sides cancelling each other out. Let me know what you think, however, in the comments down below. Next game to predict is West Brom versus Birmingham. Big games coming up for West Brom, with Ipswich and Southampton really on the horizon for this West Brom side. And considering they're on 45 points as this moment of time, they've not secured top 6 yet. You know, they can easily drop out of it if results do not go their way. They did have a pretty damaging FA Cup defeat to Wolves. They need to really try and move on from that horror show of the game, and will need to move on and start fresh here against the Birmingham side, who also played in the FA Cup as well. Did, I think, quite well for quite a fair bit of that game against Leicester City overall. But I think with this game here, I can see West Brom getting a result. Despite Birmingham actually having the better head-to-head record, I do think West Brom as a whole have been good at home. It's been their away form that has really let them down in recent times. And as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to West Brom. Birmingham can maybe shock a couple of people, me included, but I think it's going to be West Brom based on how strong their home form's been. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The final game to predict is Middlesbrough versus Sunderland. So, Middlesbrough, I've had a little bit of a break going into this game, which they would have been really relieved with, considering how their schedule was disrupted by their involvement in the Carabao Cup semi-final against Chelsea. And I've got to say, I think the action that they took to move on from that game, they managed to earn a draw in the league after that as well. So I do think Middlesbrough have done all right to just brush themselves off and to continue where they left off within the league. Sunderland, they had a brilliant win actually in midweek against Stoke City, and I think I've needed one as well, with the pressure really cranking up on Michael Beale at the moment. But they are just narrowly outside of the top 6, and just with a little bit of consistency, which has been an area that they've been lacking all season. I really do think Sunderland could try and solidify that place, but whether it's going to be with Mick Beale in charge, who knows? You know, he may have already lost patience with the Sunderland fans already. Middlesbrough had a really good game against Sunderland last time, winning 4-0 at the Stadium of Light. It definitely was one game that Sunderland would have liked to have forgotten this season. I think with this game, I think it's going to be a tighter affair. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Middlesbrough. I know regarding Middlesbrough, they've lost Morgan Rogers quite recently. You know, he's been going to Aston Villa. But I do think still their squad is going to be strong enough to cope with that. I do think Sunderland going to be a little bit more fatigued having played in midweek, and Middlesbrough did not need to get involved in midweek at all. So I think they might just edge it. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. So guys, these are my predictions for week 30 now done. If you guys want to be involved in the preditioning, as you know, just simply comment your championship predictions in the comments down below, and I will save your predictions and your points. So this is going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please smash the like button if you did enjoy this video. Please hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy as well. It really helps. And please share as well. All three of these things really do help. I hope all of you guys have a fantastic weekend of championship football, and hopefully you've had the outcome that you wanted. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.